have found out that every time power is available, words do not need to be many. The abundance of high sounding words many times are an attempt to cover the power gap. I heard Reinhard Bonke's messages many times, and sometimes you could summarize the message in simple words. Jesus is Lord. He loves you. His power is here to prove it. Get out of the way. And by the time you see the signs and wonders, you see people who are not educated, you see people who are not, because sometimes you see the way we teach the word, only educated people can come to Jesus. The current way we sell the gospel, high sounding intellectual display of knowledge, that's wonderful. But what about the person in the village? What about the person who did not have the privilege to go to school? What about the young boy who is on drugs? What about the boy who has made himself an altar to darkness, and yet is not educated and intellectually coherent enough to understand our high speakings? Imagine if you stood before Jairus or Jairus's daughter. Imagine if you stood before the woman at the well and said, "Madam, you've been in this condition for how long?" And she says, 12 years, man of God. I have spent all my money on doctors. And you say, "Oh, I know what the problem is. You are not consistent in your fasting. You are not consistent in your prayer. I see the problem. You have dishonored the anointing somewhere." Anyway, God is able to heal you. I want you to know that Jesus is a healing. She said, "I know, that's why I came to you." And he said, "Well, you know what? You just keep believing. Release your faith. Your faith is not yet at the level that brings the miracle." Imagine how disappointed the woman with the issue of blood is. Or imagine that you went to the house of the centurion and you come in there as a witness of Jesus, and they say, "Okay, please come and raise this person from the dead." And he said, no, she's sleeping. And after they laugh at you, you say, "You know what, it's all right, let's see what we can do." God heals. I know that. He's the resurrection and the life. I know that. And the Greek word for resurrection is anazao, to come back, to revive. They say, "Okay, we don't understand, but we are thirsty. Let this guy come back to life." And afterwards, we demonstrate all kinds of things and walk out there disappointed. Do you know, most preachers get afraid when they see people who are sick and lame as part of those coming to church. We don't even want those people to come early and sit where it's obvious and visible. What happens when they are not healed? Let them stand somewhere. If they are healed, that's fine. No. Do you know there was a time in church history where a woman of God had what they call stretcher only service, meaning if you are not sick, you are not invited in that service. So the service was for only those who were sick, and they line all of them, and then she comes in, and sometimes before the sermon starts, the mighty move of the Spirit, those who have been demonized. Now, not everybody will walk in that dimension, but everybody can carry power. For God's sake, everybody can carry power. Are we together? Power that can help people solve. Now let me make a very bold statement here. Listen to me. Let's be careful that as we teach people on the laws and the principles of finances, let's not forget the fact that God helps men. There are people in trouble that no business idea can bring them out. They are already dying. They are in a financial ICU. There is no amount of Harvard, Yale, Stanford knowledge that will bring them out. They need a by this time tomorrow dimension of grace. When they come out, then you can now teach them. You believe this? Imagine if we were in Samaria. I know what Joshua Selman would have told the king. There are financial principles that can help Samaria. You make careless financial decisions, and it may be true. But right now, oh king, you need to come up with a 15-year-old plan while women are eating their children. It didn't take them 15 years to eat their children. They needed help immediately. Let us not become so intellectual that we forget that God is supernatural. I will never endorse laziness. I will never endorse a people who fold their arms and say, "I won't do anything. God will just bring money." But I will never become so intellectual that I forget that God can move mountains, that a fish can produce coin. A fish should not always produce coin, but it can. And where there is need, it will. We have empowered the devil by closing our minds away from the supernatural in a bid to balance the excesses of a false sense of the supernatural and spiritism and a lot of things that has produced a largely irresponsible generation. I agree, there are many people, many preachers, with all due respect, who have not taught young men and women to be responsible. And people just fold their arms. They won't look for a job. They say God will do it. They won't learn relationship principles. They will say God will do it. They will not educate their mind. They say God will do it. So the imbalance is that when you don't understand doctrine, you don't understand a sound teaching of the word, you will become an irresponsible Christian whose life is largely superstitious. So there's that one side. But the question I have for you today is, can God move mountains? Is he a supernatural God? Can God help a man financially? Can God help a family? Why are we delving away, and why are we becoming ashamed of the supernatural? We are not just scientists. We believe in science, but we believe in God because God made science. I believe in financial principles, but I believe in Jehovah Jireh. I believe in medicine, but I believe in the healing Jesus. Are we together? Yes, sir. And if we are not careful, we will produce a generation that becomes sarcastic about power and the supernatural. And when that happens, we have come into the domain of Satan. The gospel will be stunted. The advancement of God's program will be stunted.